This week on Cultivating the Collection, we're going to go through the cassette collection, and we're going to weed out some of the stuff that doesn't belong in there, and we're going to curate the ultimate hair metal collection. Stay tuned. Cultivate my collection. Everyone else should too. Cultivate my collection. I hope you do too. Growing up in the 80s, a lot of my youth was spent listening to music. And how I listened to music was, well, mostly on cassette tapes. My mother would buy them at the gas station. You know, you'd have a rolling rack there that would have $5 cassettes. She'd bring those home. I'd also have an allowance from my grandmother. It was like $10 a week. So once a week we'd go to the record store. She would give me my $10. I would go in. I would come out with Wasp, Fuck Like a Beast at 9 years old, and she would tell me to go back and return it, and I would say,
No, Graham, I'm not going to return this.
And I wouldn't. I would go home and listen to Wasp, Fuck Like a Beast at 9 years old, and it was wonderful. So what we're going to do this week is we're going to go through this collection, because I'm trying to create the ultimate, collection of what I would have wanted to see at 12, 13 years old, right? That would have been the pinnacle. I would have been really in it. I was reading Rip magazine. So we're going to make this collection reflect those times. And I still love most of this music up here, you know. There's a soft spot in my heart. So we're going to have to weed out some of this stuff. We're going to make sense of it. I don't think I'm necessarily going to sell the cassettes off that I don't want to display, but it's also important when you're curating a collection. It's kind of like a living museum, right? It's something that you can enjoy, but it's also looking at, and it's this piece. It's a whole piece right here. I want to make sure it embodies the 80s to the max. And there will be a little bit of trickle, kind of some 70s in there as well that kind of influence some of the 80s, but for the most part, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to take a look right now and start weeding. So join me. Let's get a little closer. So here we are. We're at the cassettes. We got a lot of good stuff in here. We got everything from Poison to Ozzy to Mr. Big to Europe to Iron Maiden. But today we're going to look more over here. I've started to organize, but we have stuff in the collection that it's got to come out, and it's not because I don't like it, because I love all this stuff. Stuff like Big Audio Dynamite is going to come out. Howlin' Wolf, some blues greats right there. Oh, we got stuff from my friends' bands. Harry Nilsson. You know, we got some Andrew Dice Clay right here. You know, it's stuff that I do want in my collection, but just can't be really displayed. You know, it's like, you got to pull out the Stones. It just isn't going to fit in the mix. What happened recently was, you know, I've been posting my love of 80s kind of cassettes in the collection, and my buddy Kyle reached out and was like, hey, I got a bunch of tapes. Are these something you're interested in? I said, yes. So what's going to happen is we're going to add those tapes to the collection. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a full rack by the end of this that's all going to pretty much fit into that 80s hair metal category, or close to it. So I'm going to keep pulling out cassettes right now, and we're just going to fast forward this so you can see it in real time as we kind of put it together. And every once in a while, we're going to run into a snag, like something like Aerosmith from the 70s. I mean, does that technically fit in the hair metal category? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they influenced a bunch of bands. If you think about it, bands like Kix and stuff like that, sure. But I don't know. For now, we're gonna leave it in the mix because, you know, 10-year-old me was all about Aerosmith. So I think that's important to stay in the collection. And let's face it, Permanent Vacation over there was one of the first albums I ever got from Aerosmith, and that was smack dab in the middle of the 80s. So, you know, I think it does fit. I do think. So we're gonna go with it. Another tough call. We got an album from the Black Crowes right here. And do they have hair? Yeah. Were they in the 80s? Well, I guess what? They came around 1990 was the first album. Not really hair metal, so we're not going to include them. That's coming out of the collection for now. Then we got a group like T-Rex. That's 70s glam goodness right there. One of the greatest albums ever recorded. And no doubt influenced just about all these bands that are going to be in the collection. So T-Rex has to stay. So we can see some more of the groups that are coming out of the collection. Van Morrison, Jimmy Cliff, In Excess, The, Bob Dylan. All great ones, but these are going to go away in storage for the time being. Got some comedy stuff like the Jerky Boys, Stephen Wright, Psychedelic Furs. They got to come out. I mean, if it was Sam Kinison, maybe it could stick around, but these probably don't belong. So some of the stuff that we're adding to the collection today. We got some Great White. We got some Judas Priest. We got some Crocus. We got some Ozzy. We got some Kiss, which once again falls in that middle ground. Is it hair metal? Well, no, but they certainly did some hair metal in the 80s, though. So I got a lot of sorting to do right now, so we're going to time out and we'll catch up once we get everything fixed up.
You'll know it's time to turn the page when you hear the chimes ring like this.
Well, we did pretty good. Pretty good, I say. Most of it's in order. The only problem was we came up 2, 4, 6... We came up 8 cassettes short of filling it up with, well, what I would say fits in that hard rock, hair metal, 80s glam kind of vibe. So we're not there yet, but very close. So I just filled it in with the comedy stuff that I still have, and so we left it over there. But everything else looks pretty solid. Like, I feel like 10-year-old me would be very proud of this collection. I'd have it in my Walkman. I'd be walking around town, flipping those tapes, having a good time with it. So all these extra tapes are going to have to go into storage. We'll store them away until, well, I get a bigger house and I can have it displayed somewhere else. But for right now, we have a work of art behind me that I get to look at every day and also pull off the shelf and throw in the old tape deck. Let me know. Do you guys have cassette collections out there? Do you struggle with the same thing? Do you try to keep it organized like this? How do you do it? I'd be curious about that. And the thing is, guys, even if I wanted to get rid of those cassettes, the market on tapes right now, not good. You wouldn't get a whole lot. So there's no point in really flipping those unless you really don't give a shit about them at all, which I do care about them. So I don't want a quarter piece. It's not worth it. So let me know in the comments what you guys do. Thanks again. I hope you cultivate your collection. We'll see you next time.
Cultivate my collection. Everyone else should too. Cultivate my collection. I hope you do too. Cultivate my collection. Everyone else.
He's on fire. He said he's just gonna pick him right up. He's just gonna slam him right down. Woo! He ain't getting that, brother. Well, let me tell you something, brother.